Let's not let anyone get close to us.
Yo siento que algo se mueve.
Whoa.
What is this?
The most terrifying camping encounters always start with a chilling silence. From an unexplained whistle outside an isolated wilderness cabin to forest crickets abruptly going dead quiet, right before a deep growl. What is really lurking out there in the dark? A YouTuber from the channel Extinct File uploaded this video on May 23, 2026. The footage shows him entering a group of abandoned houses late at night after hearing reports of unusual activity around the property. Inside the complex, he came across bones scattered across the area, strange bags hanging from the trees, and dark marks on the ground that appeared to be dried blood.
There's a lot more stuff here, man. Don't stop looking behind us, okay? Let's not let anyone get close to us.
As he continued deeper into the site, he noticed several objects arranged near the entrances, including piles of garlic. Their placement made it seem possible that the location had been used for some kind of ritual practice. During the exploration, the group suddenly heard what sounded like a woman screaming. Moments later, the unsettling laugh of a man echoed through the empty buildings.
Fue un grito de mujer y luego una risa de hombre.
Una risa de hombre,
¿Cierto?
sí. Así ves.
When the group reached another part of the complex, they found windows blocked by barricades and entrances that had been sealed. These signs suggested that someone might still be using parts of the abandoned property. They later spotted a motorcycle parked nearby with its lights turned off. Not long after that, a man came out of one of the buildings.
Family. He came out to threaten us. We were about to leave, and he came out to threaten us. Look, it's like crazy. He's going from one direction to another. In fact, we didn't have to record him, but he came running towards us. And the truth is that we had to run fast. He was running towards the end.
The group immediately ran back toward their vehicle and managed to leave the area just in time. In abandoned structures, sound can bounce off walls, hallways, and open rooms. This can make a scream or laugh sound closer than it really is, or seem to come from the wrong direction. The strange objects may have been left by people using the property, while the screams and laughter could have come from someone hiding inside. But why did the man suddenly run toward the group, and what was really happening in those abandoned houses? This camper thought they had found a peaceful place to stay with their dog. Then something outside the car began moving on its own. TikTok user .AndrewRZV traveled into the woods to camp with their dog and chose a place to settle down. While sitting inside the car, they noticed something unusual outside. Several benches seemed to be moving without anyone touching them. The space around the benches appeared empty, and no person was clearly visible nearby. It is possible that someone outside the camera view was pushing or pulling them. Wind may also have caused the movement. Long objects such as benches can shake or shift when force is applied to one side. The cause may also remain hidden when the camera only shows a small part of the area. The TikTok user never revealed what actually made the benches move. Do you think someone was hidden nearby, or was there a simpler explanation? A man named Diego uploaded this video on May 21st, 2025. He had traveled deep into the Colombian wilderness to investigate a cabin that local people believed was haunted. He made camp inside the building and began filming as darkness arrived. At first, nothing unusual seemed to happen. Then Diego suddenly heard a whistle nearby.
Iban a ser las 8 de la noche y no quiero parecer dramático, pero escuché que alguien silbó, así como cuando saludan, tipo... Y me dio un poquito de miedo, espero que sea un ave. O si no, no puedo.
As the night continued, the situation became more disturbing.
Estoy acostado y uso mi cabeza en el techo. Yo siento que algo se mueve. Y escucho. Parece que las tablas se abrieran. Hay movimiento. Parce, tengo mucho miedo. No sé si es la madera la que intentaré.
Loud banging and movement began coming from the roof above him. Diego stepped outside with a flashlight to look around, but he could not find anything. He remained inside the cabin for the rest of the night and left the area the following morning. He still had no explanation for the whistle or the sounds moving across the roof. Inside a wooden cabin, even small movements above can sound much louder because the roof and walls carry the vibration. It may have been an animal or someone trying to frighten him, but what do you think was really outside that night? A group of people in Portugal entered the wilderness after hearing rumors about a strange creature that was said to roam the area at night. Local people described it as a figure that looked similar to a vampire. While the group recorded their search, the camera briefly picked up something sitting in a tree ahead of them. They moved closer and zoomed in. That was when they saw what appeared to be a face resting above the branch. Only the head and shoulders could be seen. The shape looked human, but the eyes appeared unusually dark. Even if the figure was only a normal person, it was still difficult to understand why anyone would be sitting in a tree deep in the wilderness during the night. In low light, a camera may lose detail around the eyes and make them appear completely dark. Still, that does not explain why the figure was in the tree. Was it simply a person hiding there, or did the group find the creature described in the local stories? What happened after that was never revealed. Before we continue, never attempt something like this yourself. A woman was hiking near a small waterfall when she chose to move closer to the edge. At first, nothing seemed dangerous. Within moments, however, she lost her footing and fell over the side of the waterfall.
Whoa.
The impact caused serious injuries. The recording captured her crying out in pain and struggling to breathe. Despite the violent fall, she survived, although her condition was reported as critical at the time. Rocks around waterfalls can become extremely slippery from water and spray, even when they appear safe. Do you think this accident could have been avoided by staying farther from the edge? This incident is a serious warning to keep a safe distance from cliffs, waterfalls, and steep drops. A single wrong step can change everything. What would you do if a motionless figure suddenly appeared in the middle of a dark road? One camper chose not to stay long enough to find out what it was. A man was driving home late at night after a camping trip when he suddenly hit the brakes after noticing something ahead in the road. Shaken by what he saw, he quickly took out his phone and started filming. A figure stood completely still in the middle of the road. It seemed to be wearing several layers of clothing, or some type of robe, giving it a strange and almost unnatural shape. The man did not want to take any risks or move closer. He immediately turned the car around and drove away from the area. At night, headlights can create deep shadows that make clothing and body shapes look unusual. But was this simply a person standing in the road, or something the driver was right to avoid? TikTok user, the apex inconvenience, was exercising in the woods late at night when the crickets suddenly stopped making noise. The forest became strangely quiet. A few moments later, he heard movement coming from the bushes nearby. He clapped his hands loudly, possibly hoping to scare away whatever was hiding there. Right after that, a deep growl came from the darkness. The video ended immediately without revealing what made the sound. The uploader later said it might have been the dogman described in local legends. Many viewers thought it was more likely a bear or another large animal reacting to him. Crickets may become quiet when they sense movement or vibrations nearby. Whether it was a bear or something else, what do you think was hiding in the bushes? In 2022, a driver recorded a video while traveling along a quiet rural road at night. According to the uploader, the footage was captured by his father during a normal drive through the area. As the vehicle continued forward, a figure slowly came into view near the side of the road. It appeared to be wearing a white dress. The father did not stop to investigate. Once he arrived home, he immediately showed the recording to his family. Headlights can make light-colored clothing stand out while hiding smaller details in the darkness. Was this simply a person standing beside the road or something more difficult to explain? TikTok user. Unsettling content explored an abandoned building with several friends at night. While looking through an opening in the structure, they noticed a white figure standing motionless inside.
Ada suaranya. Mana tapi? Oh, ini. Mana? Itu. Ini. Kelihatan. Oh, iya ini pocongan nih. Astagfirullahaladzim. Dia noleh tuh. Dia noleh. Oh, dekatnya anjir.
The group pointed toward it and believed it resembled a pocong, a figure from local folklore. They continued watching from a distance, but the figure did not appear to react or move. At first, they thought it might have been a mannequin because it remained completely still. However, when they returned to the same place a few minutes later, it was gone. In darkness, a narrow viewing angle can hide important details and make an ordinary object look human. But if it was only a mannequin, how did it disappear before they returned? A homeowner discovered an unusual structure while exploring a wooded section of his backyard. He had never noticed it before. As he moved closer, he saw benches and torch-shaped fixtures arranged carefully around the area. He then found a sign, but the writing was difficult to read. After getting something to clean it, he learned that the chapel was open to anyone for respectful worship.
Chapel is open to any person or any honorable worship for any honorable worship purpose. The Holy Cross is made from a tree grown in the Holy Land.
The sign also claimed that its cross had been made from a tree grown in the Holy Land. When he entered, the chapel looked old and badly weathered, suggesting that no one had used it for a long time. What made the discovery even stranger was its location. The structure was close to his house, yet he had no information about who built it or when it appeared there. Small structures can remain hidden for years when thick trees and plants grow around them. Was this simply a forgotten part of the property, or did the homeowner discover it at exactly the right moment? A TikTok user was swimming at night when something unusual appeared near a nearby creek. At first, nothing seemed out of place. While they were still in the water, however, a strange figure emerged from the darkness. As it moved closer, its shape began to look almost human. The dark surroundings, low video quality, and sudden ending make it impossible to clearly identify the figure. Poor lighting can hide body details and make a distant person look distorted on camera. Was it simply someone near the creek, or something the swimmers had a good reason to fear? Several people spotted a mysterious white figure among the trees inside Tangua Park in Curitiba, Brazil, and recorded a video that quickly went viral. The figure appeared deep inside a restricted wooded section near a trail and lookout point that was reportedly closed for maintenance. As the footage spread online, many viewers said the figure looked like the ghost of a bride. Later, a social media user claimed to have seen the same person inside the park. According to the post, it was a woman dressed completely in white, wearing headphones, holding a phone, and singing loudly by herself. No one knows how she entered that section of the park, and the woman never explained her actions. White clothing can appear unusually bright in low light, while hiding details of the person wearing it. She may not have been a ghost, but why was she alone inside a restricted wooded area? What would you do if your camera captured a human-shaped figure while you were searching for a missing relative? In 2023, a woman entered a wooded area looking for her nephew who had disappeared after leaving a hospital. As she moved deeper into the trees, she felt as if someone was watching her. She recorded the area, but saw nothing unusual at the time. Later, while reviewing the video, she noticed a humanoid shape briefly standing between the trees. Shadows and branches can sometimes create human-like shapes in unclear footage. But was this only an illusion, or was something really there? Her nephew has not been found, and no further update has been shared. What happened next shows why the greatest danger outdoors is not always an animal. On October 22, 2024, police responded to the Portage County hike and bike trail in Ravenna, Ohio, after someone discovered a man suffering from stab wounds. While officers were helping the injured man, another person emerged from the nearby woods carrying an axe and a knife. The officers repeatedly ordered him to stop and put down the weapons, but he continued moving directly toward them. When he came too close, the officers opened fire. The armed man was identified as 43-year-old Matthew James Fries. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The stabbing victim survived and later told investigators that the attack happened without warning or provocation. Authorities said Fries had previous contact with law enforcement and a history of violent offenses, but there was no active alert concerning him at the time. The trail was temporarily closed before later reopening. Trees and turns can block visibility on wooded trails, giving people very little time to notice danger. Does this incident change how safe you would feel walking alone in an isolated area? On April 25, 2026, YouTuber UV Parjapti Vlogs was hiking along a forest trail when he found a small lake nearby. He soon heard an unusual noise coming from the water and quickly began recording. When he pointed the camera toward the lake, he saw what appeared to be a child moving strangely while repeatedly making animal-like sounds.
Oh my god. What is this?
The behavior seemed unusual, and the video offered no clear explanation for what was happening. Water can make distant movement harder to see clearly, and can carry sounds in unexpected ways. Was this a real unexplained moment, or had the scene been staged for the camera? What would you do if something appeared to be watching you from the edge of a remote forest? After zooming in, one man believed he had captured several hidden figures. This footage was uploaded to YouTube on April 13, 2026. The man was exploring an isolated blueberry patch deep in the woods when he noticed something unusual near the tree line. The figure seemed to be hiding while partly blending into the forest. Because of the distance and thick vegetation, its shape was difficult to see clearly. Later, the creator shared several filtered and enlarged images from the video. He believed the closer views showed multiple faces and figures hidden in the same area, suggesting that more than one presence may have been watching him. Heavy zoom and filters can make shadows, leaves, and branches look like familiar faces. Were these only natural shapes creating an illusion, or were several figures really hiding near the blueberry patch that day? A 68-year-old woman was driving through an isolated trail area near Park Rapids, Minnesota, when her van became stuck deep along the route. Unable to move the vehicle, she stepped outside to examine the problem. According to reports, she then walked into thick mud that was later compared to quicksand. The ground gave way beneath her, leaving her trapped beside the van. Alone in the remote area, she could not pull herself free. Hours turned into days. For nearly 3 days, she remained stuck outdoors while search teams looked for her after she was reported missing. Then 2 men riding ATVs noticed an abandoned-looking vehicle along the trail. Nearby, they saw what first appeared to be an unresponsive person lying in a muddy pool. As they moved closer, they heard the woman calling for help and realized she was still alive. She was lying on her back, badly sunburned, exhausted, and unable to move. The men immediately contacted emergency services. Rescue crews arrived and worked through the difficult terrain until they successfully freed her and got her medical care. Deep mud can create strong suction around the body, making escape harder when a person struggles. If those ATV riders had taken another trail that day, do you think rescuers would have found her in time? What would you think if a trail camera captured someone crawling deep in the woods? Facebook user Sean checked his trail camera every Saturday and usually found only deer, coyotes, and other wildlife. This time, one photo appeared to show a person moving on all fours near the trees. Sean said the area was extremely remote with no nearby trails or campsites. A single image can freeze someone in an unusual position. Still, why was this person so deep in the woods, and why were they crawling? A man exploring an abandoned shed at night began hearing strange grunts and heavy breathing nearby. He followed the sounds into the surrounding area and discovered 2 figures with long dark hair covering their faces. They appeared to be eating something on the ground in an aggressive way. The object was difficult to identify, but it looked red, almost like blood. Both figures moved on all fours, although their body shape still appeared human. The man stayed at a safe distance and did not move any closer. What happened afterward remains unknown. Some viewers believed they could have been people living deep in the forest away from society. A bright camera light can reveal a figure without showing where its eyes are focused. But why did neither of them react to the man filming nearby? What would you do if you became separated from your family on a remote mountain trail as darkness approached? For one woman, a normal hike quickly became a race against time. An Arizona woman was hiking with her son along the Woods Lake Trail in southwestern Colorado when their day outdoors suddenly became dangerous. They had been exploring the trail through Uncompahgre National Forest and the rugged Lizardhead Wilderness when they became separated. As the hours passed, the 48-year-old woman could not find her way back. With darkness approaching, the situation became more serious because she was not prepared to spend the night outdoors. Search teams from nearby counties began looking for her before conditions grew worse. The area is remote, steep, and located at a high elevation. Shortly after 10:30 p.m., rescuers found her at about 11,200 feet. She was cold, confused, and lost, but she had not been injured. The teams guided her safely down the trail where she was reunited with her son. At high elevations, temperatures can fall quickly after sunset, making a person tired and disoriented. How different might this story have ended if rescuers had arrived later? A solo hike through northern Italy became a serious emergency when Isabel never reached her hotel. Search teams followed her planned route, but the outcome was tragic. 68-year-old British hiker Isabel MacDonald set out alone through the mountainous Veneto region of northern Italy. She was following the Rhaetian Way, her planned route, but the outcome was difficult multi-day route crossing remote valleys, mountain paths, and rugged terrain. According to reports, Isabel began that section of her journey near Stalla. She was expected to reach a hotel in Alano di Piave later that evening, but she never arrived. Emergency services were alerted early the next morning. Rescuers first searched her planned route before expanding into the surrounding wilderness. Alpine rescue teams, firefighters, drones, search dogs, and dozens of personnel joined the operation. Authorities believed she may have taken a wrong turn along the trail. Sadly, rescuers found Isabel dead in steep and difficult terrain on June 11, 2026. Reports indicated that she had suffered a fatal fall. Mountain trails can divide into faint paths, and one missed turn can lead far away from the planned route. What safety step do you think matters most? Hen hiking alone in a remote area? What would you do if an animal call suddenly began sounding like a person screaming in the darkness? One Reddit user decided not to stay and investigate. Reddit user Zombie Paranormal shared a recording made deep inside a forest at night. At first, the distant sounds seemed to come from an animal. Moments later, they became sharper and started to resemble human screams.
Oh my god. Nope. Nope.
Frightened by what they heard, the user quickly left the area and reached safety. Mountain lions and bobcats can produce calls that sound surprisingly human, especially at night. But was this only wildlife, or was someone else hiding in the forest? Reddit user: that ginger hippie was hiking near a swamp when they discovered photographs and film scattered across the ground. Several other objects were spread around the area, including printed pictures, personal belongings, clothing, and CDs. Some viewers believed the items may have been stolen during a burglary and dumped after anything valuable was removed. Others thought someone might have thrown away the memories after an emotional experience. Outdoor exposure can quickly damage photographs and make it difficult to tell how long they have been there. Who did these memories belong to, and why were they abandoned near the swamp? Reddit user Bikepacker was camping alone in a remote forest in South Korea when loud howls and strange animal calls began coming from the woods. The sounds returned whenever he tried to sleep, making it difficult for him to rest. At first, he thought a wild boar might be nearby. He remained inside the tent and stayed quiet as the noises repeatedly moved closer and then faded into the distance. The unsettling calls continued until sunrise, when the forest finally became quiet. He later learned that the likely source was a water deer, a small and harmless animal native to the region. Water deer can make surprisingly loud calls that sound frightening at night. Would you have stayed inside the tent or left before sunrise? A content creator explored the isolated Rio Yaguareguava in São Paulo while moving through a narrow section of water. Farther along the river, he noticed unusual rock walls with flat surfaces and sharp angles. Their shape looked carefully arranged rather than random.
E ali também tem risco nela.
Some viewers believed the formations could be signs of ancient human activity from before the region's recorded history. Others thought years of erosion and moving water had naturally shaped the stone. Flowing water can slowly cut rock into smooth surfaces and unusual angles. Still, do these formations look natural to you, or could people have created them long ago? A man was in the woods late at night when he noticed something frightening in the sky. Four green glowing objects were moving together through the darkness. Each one appeared to shine a yellow beam toward the ground. The objects stayed in formation while the beams moved across the area below, making it seem as though they were scanning the landscape. Some viewers suggested the lights may have come from military testing or advanced drones. Bright lights can appear stretched or unusually clear when recorded at night. Still, what do you think these objects were, and why were they moving together above the woods? The video quickly spread online because the insect closely resembled the Hulk. Many viewers claimed it was real footage of a praying mantis opening its wings in a defensive position. When threatened, mantises can spread their forewings and reveal eye-shaped markings that make them look larger and more frightening. However, further research revealed that the image did not show a real insect. It was actually an artwork by Richard Wilkinson titled Incredulous Colossus, inspired by the Hulk. Online claims can feel believable when a convincing image is paired with a simple explanation. How many people would have accepted this as real without checking where it originally came from? The video was reportedly included in a collection of declassified military footage made public by the Pentagon. In the recording, two bright objects can be seen traveling across the sky while partly hidden behind the trees. The lights appear to move together for some time before disappearing from view. Because the footage came from material officially released to the public, it quickly caused debate over what the camera had captured. An unidentified object is simply something that cannot be confirmed with the available evidence. Do you think these lights had an ordinary explanation, or were they something more unusual? While camping in the woods, a person recorded an unusual object moving across the night sky. The object seemed to flicker rapidly, making its size and shape difficult to identify. Some viewers believed it was a camera error, or a visual effect caused by the recording. However, the person filming said they had already seen the object with their own eyes before taking out the camera. Others suggested it could have been advanced technology or an unexplained object in the sky. Cameras can struggle to keep faint objects visible in darkness as their exposure changes. Still, was this only a recording problem, or did the camper see something truly unusual? A camper traveled near Tampa Bay to investigate recent reports of strange objects being seen nearby. Around sunset, an unusual light appeared in the sky. There were no visible clouds around it, and no clear stars had appeared yet. Only a bright orb-shaped light could be seen above the horizon. The object did not move like an airplane or helicopter. Instead, it seemed to remain almost completely still as the sky became darker. Some viewers said similar sightings had recently become more common in the same area, although no clear explanation was available. A distant object moving toward the viewer can sometimes appear motionless from the ground. Still, do you think this light had a normal explanation, or was something unusual hovering above Tampa Bay? A man found what appeared to be a dead hognose snake lying on the forest floor. When he reached down to touch it, the snake suddenly rolled over and became completely still again.
Watch one more time.
Hognose snakes are known for this defensive behavior. They may turn onto their backs, open their mouths, and let their tongues hang out to look dead. When someone turns one upright, it will often roll onto its back again to continue the act. Hognose snakes are generally harmless to humans and are not considered medically dangerous. Playing dead can discourage predators by making the snake seem unappealing. However, other snake species may show similar behavior and could still be venomous. Would you ever touch a snake simply because it appeared to be dead? What would you think if a woman in white suddenly appeared beside a road in a natural park? An explorer was filming animals running near the road. when the camera briefly captured a woman in a white gown, standing still in the shadows. They only noticed her later after sharing the video with friends. She may have been a bride posing for photos, but without knowing the location, was this an ordinary scene or something stranger? 76-year-old veteran Mark Young traveled to Arizona in April 2026 to attend a family wedding. After the event, he extended his visit and planned a solo camping trip in the remote Bloody Basin area. On April 16th, he drove a rented SUV into the wilderness. He was expected to meet a family friend for dinner in the Verde Valley the following day, but he never arrived. His family reported him missing on April 17th and a search operation began. His vehicle was found the next day, but Mark was nowhere nearby. Rescuers and family members spent several days searching the rugged landscape. On April 20th, they heard faint calls for help echoing through the area, but they could not identify their exact direction. The group separated and continued searching on foot. Mark's family members eventually found him alive after he had spent 4 days lost in the wilderness. He was dehydrated and had gone without food or water, but he had no serious injuries. Officials later learned that he had become lost after dark. To survive, Mark stayed in shaded areas during the day and sheltered from the wind at night. He also tried to build a fire but could not get it started. A rescue helicopter transported him to a hospital where he was expected to recover fully. Staying in the shade can slow water loss and reduce heat exposure in dry conditions. How long do you think Mark could have survived if his family had not heard his calls? What would you think if a strange mist appeared beside a child only months after he lost his mother? Someone shared 2 photos taken only seconds apart at a Boy Scout camp around 20 years ago. In both images, the man's son stood on the left and his nephew stood on the right. Everything appeared normal at first. After looking more closely, the family noticed a mist-like shape floating in front of the boys in one photo. No one at the camp remembered seeing anything unusual when the picture was taken. The moment felt especially meaningful because the boy had lost his mother earlier that year. The family wondered whether the shape could somehow represent her watching over him. Moisture lighting or a camera artifact can create strange forms in a single image. But do you think this was only a photographic effect or something more personal? A peaceful hike became a fight for survival when he came face to face with a grizzly. In late May 2026, Daniel was hiking with a friend when he briefly walked away to take photos. On his way back, he spotted a grizzly cub about 40 feet away and a larger bear standing only 15 feet above him. Daniel called out, but the grizzly immediately charged. He raised his arm to protect his face as the bear bit him and dragged him more than 20 feet before running away. Nearby hikers rushed to help, including a doctor who used a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Daniel was airlifted to a hospital with several fractures and later underwent multiple surgeries. Grizzlies can become extremely defensive when cubs are nearby. Did Daniel's last-second reaction save his life? What would you think if a man suddenly began gliding through a river? A woman parked near a calm river and noticed a man standing still in the water. Moments later, he moved forward with unusual speed and control, almost as if the current was carrying him. The woman never explained what happened. Was it only the water and camera angle or something stranger? A woman living in a remote wooded area checked video from a security camera inside her house that was aimed through a window toward the yard. Everything looked normal until a blurry figure suddenly moved across the screen. It passed so quickly that she first wondered if she had imagined it. After replaying the clip several times, she became certain that something had crossed the camera's view. When the footage was slowed down, the shape looked somewhat human, but it remained too unclear to identify. Fast movement can create heavy blur and change the shape of an object on camera. Was this simply a person or animal passing outside, or something harder to explain? The video was reportedly recorded in the early 2000s and later discovered by a park ranger. It begins with a man running between the trees while several dark human-shaped figures appear to chase him from different directions. At one point, one of the figures seems to attack the hiker, and the recording suddenly stops. The next scene shows the camera placed on the ground as the same figures appear to perform some kind of ritual around him. Some viewers believe the entire video was staged. Others think the man was abducted and used in a ritual sacrifice. Without an original source or official verification, staged footage can easily be presented as real. Do you think this was a planned horror video, or did the camera capture something much worse? What would you think if you found 2 locked metal doors hidden inside a remote canyon wall? A hiker in Utah discovered 2 reinforced doors built directly into the rock. Both were locked, and a surveillance camera above one entrance pointed toward the path, suggesting the site was still monitored. Steel doors like these often protect tunnels or restricted areas. What do you think was hidden inside? A group of hikers entered a wooded area at night carrying flashlights and cameras. As they followed the trail deeper into the forest, they noticed something bright standing beneath a distant tree. The figure appeared to be wearing a white wedding dress. At first, it remained completely still. Then it slowly turned toward the group and stared at them from a distance. After several seconds, the figure turned away and walked deeper into the trees. The hikers stayed where they were, unsure of what they had just witnessed. White clothing can appear much brighter in darkness, making a distant person difficult to see clearly. But who was standing beneath that tree, and why did they walk alone into the forest? A new search team has joined the investigation into the Nanup 4, one of Australia's most puzzling missing person cases. In 2007, Chantel McDougall, her 5-year-old daughter, Leela Simon Cadwell, and Tony Poppich vanished from Nanup, Western Australia. They had told relatives they planned to relocate to Brazil. However, investigators found no record of them boarding a flight, and none of their bank accounts were used again. Police later discovered that Simon Cadwell was living under a false identity. His real name was Gary Felton, and he operated an online spiritual group that some people described as cult-like. Authorities also learned that he had allegedly discussed taking group members into the wilderness to die together. Months after the disappearance, items connected to the group were reportedly found in bushland near Northcliffe, along with signs that people had stayed there. Police searched the area, but later admitted that they had focused on the wrong location. A renewed search is now being planned with help from volunteers experienced in difficult wilderness cases. Nearly 20 years later, no confirmed trace of the 4 has been found. Authorities and their relatives continue asking anyone with information to come forward. In thick bushland, even a small mistake in coordinates can lead searchers far from the correct area. Could this new search finally reveal what happened to the Nanup 4? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.